Okay, so now let's do Star Wars Jedi Survivor. We'll try balance and performance, unlike The Witcher where I did only balanced, but let's see here. So one of the advantages of this GPU, the 4060 instead of the 3060, is more VRAM. So they upped the VRAM on the 4060 by 2 gigabytes. That was a great decision on NVIDIA's part because you can see here we're at 6.4 gigabytes. We would have hit a VRAM on the 3060 and you had to lower the settings. Yeah, so this is 1600p, just medium, native. This is not an easy to run game, not by any stretch. And yeah, pretty good performance, 45 on average. It's kind of like balanced mode, where you get 45 FPS, balancing fidelity and performance. You could turn it up, turn this up to high and get 30-ish. Yeah, huge jump there. So 1600p and just, the lightest FSR, quality FSR, and it's made a huge difference in performance, actually, almost doubled. We went from 40 or 45, I guess it was. So, we're up at like probably 70 or 80% uplift here. Yeah, pretty big uplift right there. VRAM now at 7 gigabytes. So again, the 4060 is coming in clutch here. The fact that it has that extra 2 gigabytes of VRAM over the 3060 from last gen. It helps NVIDIA. I mean, some people don't realize, but you can see it here. Even on an NVIDIA GPU, VRAM really does help quite a bit. See how it performs. So high 1600p, quality DLSS, quality FSR, to the lightest FSR, and performance mode. So in this game, some games, performance, the balance mode doesn't make a huge difference. Like it'll make a difference, but it won't be like staggering. And if you find this fan noise noisy, like I said, you could just throw it in balance mode, turn it down a little touch, and rather than getting 75 FPS, you get 60 FPS. Turn them down, and visually, you can't really tell. I don't often recommend playing games just like ultra. I typically don't recommend playing games just like straight up ultra, because I mean it's not necessarily going to look great. But yeah, let's see how this looks here. So this is medium across the board, other than textures and materials being on high. And the 0.1% lows they're better. I mean, they were like 8 before. The 1% lows are way better, like almost 4 times better. This is actually, it's not hitching that bad, to be honest. This is actually pretty good. We're out of Hogsmeade, the city area here. Let's see what the performance is like out here. I suspect it'll be considerably better out here. There's something, I think it has to do with asset streaming or something, and when you're in Hogsmeade, you can turn a corner and it's just brutal drop. You really need like a super high memory bus, very high-end card to really get away with it, and even then you can get some pretty serious hitches, but this is very playable. Let's throw it on performance, let the system go. It's going to get really noisy, unfortunately, but yeah, let's see what we can get here. I'm hoping that it increases the loads. Which it seems to be doing. We're going to Hogsmeade here. Yeah, we're not hitting a VRAM limit. We have, like I said, we have 8 gigabytes to work with. We're sitting around 6. So if we pop up a bit, it's fine. Now we'll do some Diablo 4. I don't think we're going to need performance mode. I'm going to try just balance because it's nice and quiet. And let's see what we can get away with. So 1600p, high, no DLSS. I suspect it's going to run very well. Yeah, I mean, it's running rock solid. 1600p, high, native. Absolutely rock solid. No DLSS. I mean, you can throw on DLSS, but with point. VRAM, you can see here, if you can see through the chaos, is at 6.6 gigabytes. So again, the 4060 having that extra 2 gigabytes is coming in clutch here. So 1600p Ultra, I don't suspect we're going to have much issues. The 4060 should run this really well, yeah. So we may want to eventually throw on some DLSS just to keep the lows up. The average is extremely high. Diablo is prone to drops and lows just because there's so much chaos. So you can see here it's running fine, but the 0.1% lows are a little low. So while they defend me, my guys. We'll put it on just quality DLSS, 1600p, the latest DLSS, and ultra. So I mean, you can't turn the settings up any higher. It's running really good. Look at the average. Like we're on balanced mode. We're not even on performance. Let's throw it on performance just for. We'll throw it on performance just to see what happens. The FPS should go up a lot. It's gonna get a little noisy, but yeah, I mean now our average is extremely high. Uh, 1600p high native, basically. I don't think we're gonna have any issues with this game. 4060 should be more than capable of running this title with pretty good settings overall. I mean, we're looking at here 1600p, and this is not a demanding. This is a very demanding scene here, looking at these trees and stuff. No scaling, and we're getting 65 on average. In here, you know, it's dipping down to 50, which is what I expected. And then we come out here, and it goes back up. Let's come up here now. Just reset the benchmark for a second there, because the window closed for some reason. Yeah, I mean, it's running really well. So 1600p, you can just throw it on high. I mean, it's running fine without DLSS. But sometimes I like to throw on a little bit of DLSS if we have a 1600p screen. It just helps normalize things, basically. You don't have as much spikes up and down. Yeah, it doesn't make a huge difference, to be honest. Doesn't really need it, but let's see if we can get around 55 or so over here, maybe. I think we're dropping down to 40 in the worst case scenarios. Yeah, so DLSS is making a big difference in these like foliage areas, which typically I do find because it's, you know, it's further off in the distance, and you know, the up-resing does help a lot with rendering all of these. So ultra settings now with just quality DLSS, so just light DLSS basically. Yeah, and this is giving us similar to high no DLSS. Maybe a little bit higher than that. The lows are better. Absolutely, the lows are better with a little bit of DLSS. So I do recommend in this game using a little bit of DLSS. It's just more, the spread between the average and the lows are much better. So we'll start with 1600p, just native, original settings. And we'll see what we get here. I suspect it'll be fine. Yeah, it looks to be fine. VRAM again. Yeah, I mean, we're doing really well here, considering this is original 1600p, no scaling, and balanced mode is getting a 76 on average, and good lows. I mean, you can probably get away with this. Let's throw it on performance real quick, and we'll listen to it get noisy. A little bit noisier. Pretty big jump in performance, actually, to be honest. It's actually pretty considerable. But again, I mean, this is the type game, like Cyberpunk, you don't probably need to play above, you know, 65, 70 FPS, as long as your lows are good. So here we're up to 85. So I mean, we're getting an extra 15 to 20 FPS. So this is high now instead. Okay, this is 1600p high now instead, and still balanced, and didn't actually make a big difference in performance. I guess it went down a little bit. Performance again, performance mode. And I just want to see what it does here. Yeah, so if you want to play on high, I mean, performance mode does get you a little bit higher FPS, but again, it's not making a huge difference. This is the same on a lot of Legion laptops I test. I've tested, you know, the 5 Pro, the 4090. If a game is really demanding and you need very high frame rates, you can certainly play on performance. But I often find that balanced is like enough, because these laptops are getting pretty powerful. 60, so 1600p high, no scaling, and there's your 60 FPS, I guess. Lows, not amazing, but fine, I guess. yeah, so I mean, if you want 60 FPS, 1600p native, there you go, boom, done. One and done, I guess. But let's see if we can bring those lows up. I mean, there's no point. So there we go. Now we've thrown on DLSS on high, and yeah, the lows have come a bit. Now we're in a good low rate, 37 on the 1% lows, 23 on the 0.1% lows, 66 average. This is rock solid in my opinion. So 1600p, throw on the lightest DLSS, just a little baby DLSS, and away you go on high. And it looks pretty killer, to be honest. Yeah, so now we switched over to ultra, same thing, DLSS on quality, just the baby one, 1600p. Yeah, ultra, again, 60, so high you're getting 70 or so, 65 to 70, ultra you're getting 60. And the lows are better with DLSS on, so I would just throw it on. I mean, at 1600p screen resolution, and then the lightest DLSS, you can't tell DLSS is on. So let's check the CPU temps here. It's been running for a while. I just kind of left the game running, to be honest, walked away. So yeah, the CPU is running quite cool. The average is, I mean, we've been playing basically that whole time. Actually, it's really cool, like 75, 50 over here. Quite cool on the CPU. And what's the wattage being pulled here? So it looks like we're pulling 42 watts. Okay, so let's check the actual performance now. So we're just in balance mode here, and we'll see what we can get here. Like I said, no DLSS. So no DLSS, ultra textures, everything else on medium. 1600p, this is pretty good performance, to be honest. I'll test some more games, but you can see here it's performing pretty well. The lows aren't terrible. The 0.1% lows dropping a bit, but the average is quite good. It's not overly noisy. Definitely the fan's going. I could play like this, especially if you have headphones. Let's throw it in performance though and see if we get a uplift at all. So the average went up right away. Actually went up quite a bit. The 0.1% lows are around the same, but we're getting a few more frames. Yeah, so you're definitely getting more frames here on performance mode. It's quite a bit louder. This is quality DLSS. We're still in performance mode. You can see that the averages went up a ton right there. And the 0.1% lows went up quite a bit too. So the DLSS is helping. We went from like 12, we're at 30 as the 0.1% lows. So that's good actually.